Long Island Breakfast Club show. Grab a cup of coffee or hot cocoa. It's the Long Island Breakfast Club show. Grab a cup of Java or espresso. It's the Long Island Breakfast Club show. Tina Valentina is the host, you see. She's as classy as she can be. The co-host Greg has a lot to say. Well, you wouldn't have it any other way. Grab a cup of coffee or espresso with the Long Island Breakfast Club show. I say rise and shine, get up and go. It's the Long Island Breakfast Club show. Grab a cup of coffee or espresso with the Long Island Breakfast Club show. Another cup of Java or espresso. Another cup of coffee or hot cocoa. It's the Long Island Breakfast Club show. It's the Long Island Breakfast Club show. It's the Long Island Breakfast Club show.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Thursday, and it is a great day here at the show. Today is National Mimosa Day, so everybody should go home and have one.
Yes.
It is National Love a Tree Day, so go hug your tree or go sit under a tree, do something. And it's National Chocolate Chip Day. So, of course, on the way home, you want to get some chocolate chips. But I have some great guests today. I have Angela Credenza Parker, who is just about everything you want to call her. She is an actress. She is talented. She can do so many things. She's in the Fontana. She's in about 5 movies. And today she's co-hosting with me.
I am.
And so thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We have our guest out in Colorado today. His name is Gary Rothline. There he is. Hi, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
Hello, everybody.
I'm so glad you made it. Gary's an author, and he's going to be talking about a lot of great things. The name of his book is called Me and the Mental, which is quite a story, a memoir about one's directions to the next. So it's kind of interesting to think about it. And then we have my very old friend for years and years. We both started the Long Island, what was it? Come on.
My memory
Volunteer
Oh,
Hall
my gosh.
of Fame.
That's right.
Wow.
Yes.
And when I first met him, we were at a big table with a bunch of people. And
true confession time.
And Frank Pomada. And they thought I was nuts because I said we're going to get a real home and we're going to be at the golf club, remember?
And there we were.
And I was with the board, but they were all a little, afraid. They thought I was crazy. But we got it, and we now have a home for the Long Island Hall of Fame right on the golf club at the park.
So if you need it done, you know who to go to.
Yeah, so that's how long I know him, 28 years. We both lost our jobs together.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of crises, and he is an author.
I am.
Frank Pomada. So thank you all for coming. And I think we're going to start off with you, my dear, because we know each other now 3 years.
We do.
And we're working together again, not only here in the movies, at the festivals.
Yes.
And you're like my daughter. You're like a daughter.
You're like my mom.
And you really look pretty. That orange is
Oh,
not everyone could wear orange.
That's
Now, a redhead can't wear orange.
No.
Yes,
I
but
don't think
you
so.
look great in it.
Thank you. It's new. I just got it. I have to add some color to my life.
All right.
So let's talk about, I met you from the film festival, but you were already an actress.
Yes. Well, no, I met you when we started the Fontanas.
Right, but you came to the film festival originally.
Yes.
So let's talk about, what did you do before that? Before all the film?
So my first act, I was in healthcare.
Healthcare. Okay.
Yes. I worked in healthcare for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was a medical billing manager,
Mhm.
director for a gastroenterology group. And that's what I did. But then I realized, you know what? There's
Life after
after healthcare.
9 to 5, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
And I took a leap of faith and I left healthcare and then I started to substitute teach.
Right. And you
Yeah,
also work at
and
a
I also-
farm.
And I work at Kerber's Farm in
She's a hard
Huntington.
worker.
But before that, I had multiple jobs just to, I'm
get
a
your
worker, so I
Yeah.
like to work, and I like to, I had 2 boys going to college and a house and a husband, and I can't just be frolicking and
no.
eating bonbons all day.
Well, some women are lucky enough that they can do that. None of us can.
I like to get out. I like to work and get out. So I worked at a gym. I worked at another cafe in town, and I did whatever I had to do.
Yeah, and you still substitute
And I
teach,
still
yeah.
substitute teach. It's 12 years now, which I love, K
That's
through 8,
great.
usually, not much the high school, but
And-
I
and
focus mostly in elementary.
travel a lot.
And I travel a lot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I travel a
Well,
lot.
for all the little gigs,
yeah,
big gigs.
Yeah.
But
do.
I think what we'll
So-
do is show the clip first, so people can get to
sure.
know who you
I
are.
would love it.
And
Thank
I
you.
love this clip. I want to hire
Thank
this
you.
guy for me because I don't have great
Oh,
photos.
he's wonderful. He's wonderful.
Sorry, I thought you discussed this.
What is it?
If you agree, we can ask the court to appoint Brando as your guardian. It demonstrates awareness of your mental health issues. Trusting someone, in this case your husband, to help make important decisions will send a message to the judge. I know this is shocking and painful, but you did assault someone. So that leaves you with 2 choices: conservatorship or prison.
We had him cuffed and he wasn't resisting. You took it way too far. My partner and best friend just killed a teenager, and a mother is waking up this morning without her baby because you didn't see him as a human. My eyes are wide the fuck open, Claire.
Dolores, do you have anything to share with us today?
Nothing, Mom.
Who's that kid walking along with you after school?
It's Courtney.
Is that the one who played with Amanda before?
She just wanted to help somehow, so we became close friends.
Close friends?
God damn it, Zoe. What's gotten into you? I should really fire you.
I'm so sorry.
Mrs. Sawyer, would you mind stepping out for a moment?
Actually, yes, I do mind. What you're not understanding is that he is still a hot commodity. No, this is the wrong contract. Come on, Zoe. And get me a cup of tea.
Thank you. You're very kind.
I do have to get back to auditions.
Nora.
I got into the FBI to make a real change.
Just needs
not
trust
this.
me. Give me
Trust
10
you?
minutes.
I'm trying, Hank, but you have me dressing up in that stupid outfit, sweating, makeup literally dripping off me, standing on a block, acting like I'm Ubats. For what? The kid doesn't talk.
So, Bobby, are you married?
Yeah,
Have you ever cheated on your wife?
I plead the fifth.
Okay, so I started telling Denise about my husband and that he wants a divorce. The pool guy got hurt, and his partner had to come over and take care of our pool. As I'm laying out sunning myself, I did not hear him walk over. Let's just say, a girl can get in a lot of trouble with sunblock.
I'm moving in with my parents. I need to start over someplace far away from here. Want to know?
All right.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
That's
thank
great.
you.
What a
Thank
range.
you.
Angela, you are going to be, I don't know,
Aw,
you are
thank
amazing. You go from one, type of a movie to another and so many different things.
Yeah.
But what was the best out of all those clips? Which was the one you liked the most?
Oh, I loved General Hospital.
General
I
Hospital.
really did. I
And
think
that's
being in
huge.
healthcare helped a lot with the
Right.
whole doctor thing. And then I was on Dr. Death. I played a nurse. So
Mm.
it's comfortable for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
Sure.
I was in the medical field for so
But
long.
as the doctor, you really carried it
Yeah.
off like
Thank you.
unbelievable.
Thank you.
And you really
know,
have to yell at a lot of people.
I know. I know. That seems to be my my niche there. I'm always
Gary,
yelling.
what did you think of her performance? Isn't it unbelievable?
I thought her performance was good. It showed a lot of interesting things. I mean, I like the part when I think it was the kid and the woman had a conversation. Altogether, it was a pretty interesting clip. And my overall opinion is that, anybody that has a sort of talent, that's special to have any sort of talent. And especially the fact that, having a talent only makes you more unique as a person.
Oh,
Because
nice.
as an author,
Okay.
I could say that me being an author is pretty interesting. But anybody that has a career in regards to, a skill that they're good at will make them, unique. but anybody could pursue a goal. I mean, if you have the goal to set, it's achievable. So I wanted to congratulate you. That was pretty good.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
very nice.
Thank you so much, Gary. Thank you.
So let's talk
Yeah.
about the Fontanas. She's my daughter-in-law in the Fontanas, and I don't like her very
She
much.
hates me.
Yes. So we
Yeah.
have a few scenes that I make her cry.
She makes me cry, but she's so good. Valentina,
She's a
she gives
monster-in-law?
it to me, so it's easy to
A
react to it.
monster-in-law. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I like that. That's a good one.
Yikes.
Yeah, she is. So we'll see what happens. I don't know what's around the corner.
So where
with
are we
my
with
character.
Jerry's writing? Jerry
Jerry's
Fioretti is our
writing. He's
filmmaker and
going to
and
start
writer, creator.
episode 2, season 2,
2.
episode 1 and 2. He's already got
we're
that written.
excited, and we'll be showing the film soon again.
Again,
The
yes.
7 episodes.
Yes.
That's a big night
Wow,
for
I'm
us.
with some special characters here.
Yeah, well, it's a big night when they show all the episodes, but it's what is it, about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, but it's
People
worth
like to
it.
binge
It's
watch,
very
you
worth
know?
it.
Yeah, if it's
It's
something
fun.
good, if it's good,
It's like seeing a
great.
long
worth it.
movie, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we serve snacks and we do raffles and stuff
gotta
like
have
that.
food.
Yeah.
I mean, are we 3 Italians here?
Yes, Italian.
Exactly.
And
Right, Gary? Right? Food.
being Italian and being in this Fontana's is just
I love
Forget
it.
about
I
it.
love
you
it.
know,
It's great. No matter
um,
where it goes, it's such a great storyline, and it's funny and it's serious and
Just like life.
well, it's true.
It's true.
You
And
know?
that's
Very
exactly
true.
what it
That
is.
is life.
So if somebody's watching and they want to find out how to contact you, what do they do?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Angela Credenza Parker. I'm on Instagram, Angela C. Parker 1. And you can check me out on IMDb Pro as Angela C. Parker. I'm not on Twitter, and I don't do TikTok or that stuff.
And look at how
Yeah.
successful you are.
Yeah, I work. I network, and I go after the casting notices, and I do a lot of auditioning. I've done, I think, 8 auditions in the past month and a half, and which is a win-win for me.
And that's
'cause,
a lot of
you know,
auditions in a month.
So I'm taking class. I'm constantly taking classes. I'm in class
And
every week.
Yeah, and if anybody
Yeah.
tells you people out there you can't do it, listen, I never did this before. And
Right,
I can now
exactly.
do one in my living room with a stick and the phone.
There you go.
And she taught me.
Yeah,
Her and
like
Jerry. Yep.
Gary
already.
said, you set a goal, you can do anything you want. You know,
And you wouldn't think that you could, but what
You
happens
can.
is you do it over and over, which is what you taught me.
that's what you do.
She's
You
a
do
great
it
teacher.
over-
Well,
I
you don't
try,
listen to
I
the dream
try.
killers. 'Cause
Right.
There are
No.
lots of,
Oh,
there's
there's
lots
a
of
lot of
dream
those.
killers out
Yeah,
there.
dream killers can really.
I've worked with young people. I ran 2 after-school programs, and one thing I never told a kid, was, "Oh, you can't do that."
Exactly.
I might say to them, "Well, do you have a plan B, or how are you going to get from where you are today to there? Do you have?
Right.
Do I get a sense of is there a concreteness to this, or is it just something in the abstract?" But
Right.
I would never say some of the things that were said to us as kids.
Right.
Well,
Right.
yes.
Oh, don't be more realistic. You can't do that.
No, and also when these girls come up and get their Emmy awards, they
Mhm.
say, "My teacher told me 50 years ago, that's not you. You can't do it."
Right.
And they
Mhm.
actually, some of these people say it,
Yes.
and that's
We're gonna break
unfortunate.
those barriers.
Yeah, well, I think we are finally.
I think so.
I mean,
A
it's
lot of progress being made.
there is, and I think today's generation, they don't really care about so many things, so they're going to do whatever they want anyway.
Right.
So I don't think a teacher will have that much effect on them. But then again, I don't know.
Well, teachers come in all different forms. They don't have to have a teaching degree.
Right.
I've had many teachers who were not in a classroom in front of a blackboard.
Right.
Wouldn't you say so, Gary?
I would say
right.
I would say that because I went to college myself, so I actually got a bachelor's degree.
Nice.
But as of now, I believe anybody that has, a special quality, something to show, be influential, they have the power to do it. And sometimes you got to be nervous. Sometimes it takes risk, but it takes a lot of hard work. But it also comes with being strong-willed,
Yes.
and knowing to be brave. Because if it's movies, if it's books, if it's sports, if it's even politics. Some politics too.
Yes, a tough subject, politics.
So yeah, but my topic is author. So that's what's interesting about it is that, as an author, I like, writing because I did write a lot, but the fact that I wrote and it took me over a year, it made me more open, and it made me more stronger because I was willing to write, and it made me feel less scared about myself.
That's good. So now
That's
let's
wonderful.
talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the book, how it happened, what made you get into writing this book. The title is interesting, which is Me and the Mental. So I'm assuming it's a memoir about something that happened to you.
That is correct. It
Okay.
is a memoir discussing about certain past life experiences. It also discusses about how I have critical insights and personal evaluations based on those experiences. And it also, my 5 final chapters of that book discusses about how it shapes my present and modern day. So if I could literate it more, my first 5 chapters are my experiences, while my 6 through 10 are my critical insight and personal evaluation, while my last 5 chapters are how they shape my present day.
Okay. So what was the hardest part about the book for you?
Well, discussing chapters 1 through 5, those first of all were the hardest chapters to write. So that
Why
was
was
the
that?
hardest. That is a good question. So the reason why is because, first of all, I had a lot of emotion and intellect into this book, but my chapters 1 through 5 took the longest to write. And the reason behind that is because they actually show the real account of certain experiences that I probably did not want to go through in my life, but it came out of the unexpected. Um,
Interesting.
but continuing, my book, the way it's designed is to be sort of like, not just influential, but it's supposed to be discussing about why trauma does happen, um, why mental stability is a factor, and why um, progress gets good if you can learn, but also evaluate and be more sufficient with life's experiences and any alteration or changes that may happen. But reasonably, it was a lot of hard work to put into this book. And
Finance.
Oh, of course, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Well, our other guest here today, he's written about the subject as well.
Yeah, Gary, I think we have some stuff in common. You know,
Yeah.
some of the twists and turns of my career path were driven by the fact that I lived with a mental illness and I was living a double life. I was in fear of that being found out. It was this shameful thing. You know, mental illness was not talked about openly when I was growing up. And so that silence nearly took my life. But in these experiences, and I think I'm hearing some similar themes in what you just said, I found strength. You know, I found different causes. I'm a mental health advocate now too. That's an unpaid position, but that's another hat that I wear. Is I go and I speak. This happens to be Mental Health Awareness Month.
It is, and it's very,
yeah.
very popular
And
right
it's
now.
super important. And if one of my talks saves one life or gets one person to perhaps accept themselves and not like me being sort of trying to like hide in the shadows, but actually, you know, in the work that I do actually with job seekers, and sometimes some of the barriers and reasons why people find themselves out of work, similar to my own case, is that there's some sort of a health challenge of some sort. And I think that I have an empathy because of my life experience, lived experience that we both have, where I can listen to that person and make them feel seen, heard, and not shameful, and tell them that yes, but they still have something to contribute. In fact, perhaps maybe something more. You spoke about uniqueness. And I also heard underlying a lot of the comments here, the word passion kept coming through my head.
Yes.
And I can hear in your writing that I'm sure there was a lot of passion involved in that to bring that to fruition. So kudos to you.
Well, go ahead.
I wanted to personally thank you guys for giving me that encouragement, because encouragement means a lot to me, that I have that sort of positivity, because I do like that factor that, whether it is a positive note that I take into consideration, I do like that I can relate to what you were stating. And I might not be the biggest mental health interest, but my book is in relation to that. And that's what makes it kind of an important book, is because it does have those factors of mental health. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure we can all relate, right, Angela?
Absolutely.
There is that mental illness in all of us in one little piece.
So, yeah.
I mean, I went through it myself. I was out of work, and I was in love with my job. You know that. And the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing now is from that loss. And I did have a trauma. And I'm not embarrassed to say it, because change is very hard. But if you're open to the change and you speak to the right people, and that's where what you're eventually going to probably be doing, something similar to what I do, what you do, talking to people. And I'm sure, Angela, what do you think about relating to this?
I was just going to say, Gary, do people reach out to you?
Yes. I have friends in my life that I interact with basically on a daily basis. I might communicate with them over my phone, but generally I do talk to people behind my books, overall structure, and this does relate to how my past experiences, which are described in my book, comes into what shaped my future. And so to this present day, everything that's happening right now is because of what I wrote in that book.
That's true.
Yeah.
So because of those little experiences that happened in my later adolescence to beginning adulthood, that changed me until now, and it will still influence the time of events, or the chain of events, I should say, until the future just keeps going, and it'll just keep continuing until, at some point, it just won't stop. And that's all I wanted to state, was that
do you do talks at all yet, in any type of fashion anywhere in front of groups, or have you haven't started that yet?
In terms of groups, I do not coordinate with too many groups. What I do is sometimes I will talk to somebody who's a professional, and they talk to me about how my life is. But in addition to talking to professionals, I do talk to my family and friends. But in general, whatever relates to my book, that does have a key point to relating to my real life. And I like the idea that I put that book into fruition, because it may have been a challenge for me to do it, but I still managed to put a lot of effort, intellect, and emotion into it.
And Gary,
And
go ahead.
but in terms of like how I feel like, you know, practically anybody could go through an experience like me, even though it's rare. Um, and things will just happen. I mean, there's one example in my book if you want me to discuss it.
Sure, you can.
Okay, so I think it was in, I'm gonna say my chapter 2 when I was homeless. And it discusses about why I was put into cold settings and why I was staying in a tent.
Mm.
But that is just an example of things that might be rare and unexpected to happen. Um, but
You pulled through. You figured out what you had to do to get to the next step.
correct. And I won't really discuss like too many details as of now.
Of course not.
I wanted to more discuss like, why I felt like that I should have gotten myself to not be too, what's it called? What I'm trying to state is that I didn't want to be too overwhelmed. I
Right.
wanted to be, um, you know, not nervous. And because when I was homeless, um, it was a challenge. I mean, when I was, going through employment, um, I practically went through jobs and I went through certain challenges of where I couldn't totally interact perfectly with the people that I was working with.
Well,
And since
Mr. Pomada here, he could identify because he is working with students just like you every day at his job.
Yeah, and even coworkers. Last year, the Department of Labor, where I work, allowed me to actually do a lunch and learn for mental health awareness, and I told about my own journey with mental illness. And I even found out as an adult that I had ADHD, and oh my God, did that crystallize a lot for me? Like challenges that I had in different jobs, Gary. And by the way, I just want to say I want to salute your bravery for telling your story,
Yes.
and that I know that you are, whether you're talking in front of groups or whatever, you're putting that out into the universe, and I know that it's going to help people. So thank you for doing that. You know, people will disclose different things. I don't know the half sometimes of what's going on with many of the job seekers
Oh,
that I
absolutely.
see.
Yes.
Many of them are in crisis. They're in emergency housing, or as you said, they're going through a situation where they're unhoused. And, I can't talk with them about doing a resume and stuff first. We got to address those things first. Let's take care of the human being in front of me and what their needs are. Then we'll get to the job and the employment stuff. We got to go in baby steps too. And, and I have to establish a trust and a rapport with the people that I'm working with. And that's not, it takes some time.
It takes a lot of time.
And sometimes we're resistant. I'll speak a little broadly about us men. We have trouble sometimes asking for help, or we're socialized to walk it off.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I wanted
You wanted to jump in and
I
say
wanted to
something,
ask.
right?
I wanted to ask you something, Gary. I'll make it quick because I know we need to get to you.
Please. No, you're
At what point in your life did you finally say, I'm going to write this book? Because I find there's a lot of people in the world that have the stories that they want to tell, but they just can't do it. They're just not putting it down. But did you have an epiphany? What finally made you say, I'm writing this book?
I felt like not only am I a strong person, I feel like sometimes like I have a characteristic about me that motivates me to get things done, but it also was the factor of something inside of me told me, maybe like an instinct, that I was willing to move forward and get off my knees and start writing. And the fact was that I wasn't scared to do it.
That's terrific.
And
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the book, because now the rest of the things that happened to you are because of the book. I'm going to tell you that it's happened to me with my book. It's happened to you with your book.
Absolutely.
Your life changes after you write a book. It's not always about the money that you make on the book. It's about what changes happen because of the book.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a therapeutic process. You know, there's art therapy, which I didn't know existed, but I'm a very creative type of person. And my grandson has inspired me. I've actually self-published like 10 books now, all inspired by or featuring him because of something he said or did. I had never done creative writing before. And I wrote and contributed essays to these two books, one that Valentina compiled about people's career stories and from fire to freedom, pardon me, tripping on my tongue here. And then most recently, a friend of mine wrote this other book here, Career Journeys. And she asked me to talk about, there's this false narrative when we think that we don't measure up of successes like
it's very true.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm listening to what you were saying about all the things that you do and the twists and the turns that life takes. And we think, oh my gosh, those must be mistakes, whatever. Actually, those are the very things wherein lie lessons, or where we took a talent of, hey, I was in nursing and now I'm applying that in acting or in teaching.
Exactly.
And whatnot. So,
and yes, and the three of us that are sitting here
you're retooling
changed our
yourself
careers
over time. Yeah,
because
we're adapting.
And every time you adapt and you put yourself out there and you get in your uncomfortable zone, that's the best thing you could do for yourself.
I would venture to say, and I've been saying this to some of my colleagues, I think that for the 21st century, adaptability is probably one of the number one characteristics that's going to help people to succeed, is being able to sort of, adapt to the changing things, because things are changing rapidly, the economy, job conditions and whatnot. And I know when I did hiring as a manager and stuff, I always liked somebody, I didn't want a one-trick pony. I liked somebody, to use a sports analogy, utility player. Hey, let me put you on first base, but my third baseman's out today. Can you jump over there? And the worst thing you could possibly say to me is, that's not my job.
Well, adaptability is important, because especially since they lay so many people off now, and they have less staff, you have to learn how to do your neighbor's jobs, what you're sitting next to.
Absolutely.
So, in closing, how do people buy your book? Where is it listed? And where do people purchase your book?
Well, my book is listed on Amazon.
Okay.
It's also listed on Barnes and Nobles.
Okay.
And it's through outlets like Google Play and also the iTunes store. So that's where my book is listed.
Okay.
And
that's great. So people know where to go to purchase it. And have you had a little book launch yet? Did you have a little grand opening when you got your book, or did you you're still working on that?
I did have a press release on it. It was released to the public, and I did a bit of marketing before the press release came out.
Okay, very good.
I did this because my book was published before I started, the press release. The press release was launched after I marketed the book, and generally speaking, I thought that maybe that would be a way for me to get my book more open, and that is what my meaning was to do.
Okay.
Nice job.
Well, I hope you're going to stay on with us for the rest of the show. You're welcome to, because we're going to be doing some other discussions, and we're going to, we'll wrap it up again with you in a few, a little bit later. Okay.
Okay. And the last thing I was going to state is that if anybody needs the information, it's on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles.
Okay.
So the information is available on Barnes and Nobles and Amazon.
Well, Gary, you did a great job today and a great job on the book, and it looks very good. And I even like the beige tones that you have in the book.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll get a copy soon.
Lots of success to you, Gary.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much to all three of you. And I'm glad that I was able to appear on the show. And I'm sorry if I seem a bit nervous.
You're fine. You're absolutely fine. There's the
Great.
smile. There you
Thumbs
go.
up, thumbs up, man.
But hang
Awesome.
hang out for a while with us, okay?
Okay.
All right. So, Angela, what do you think of this gentleman?
So
here?
Frank,
Pomada.
yeah, wow.
My back in my younger years.
Well,
I knew him.
how did you two meet then? Let's start there real quick.
Well, volunteering.
I've been very active. I've done a lot of work with nonprofits, human services before I
Right.
joined the county, and through some of these community-based projects. I crossed paths with Valentina, and well, you know what that's like, you know.
So this was while you were working.
There's like this.
Yeah.
Corporate.
There's
Okay.
this gravity. There's this gravity well that
Yes,
she exerts. She's a
a
force.
magnet.
She's a force of nature, and but also she brings it to the table.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm
And
honest.
she's someone
Yes.
that, you know, I was
Yeah.
like, I don't
I
like
love
people
that.
who are just talkers. She's a
Right.
doer. She makes things happen.
Yes, she
And
does.
But
so
plus the
we
fact
stayed
that
in touch.
I did
Okay.
his resume for him and he did my resume for me.
Well, it helps, you know.
Because
Just peer
we're
support.
different.
Peer
Yeah,
support.
And
Yeah,
I liked
the
my
extra
resume
eyes.
until I saw what he did with mine. So I still have that
That's
same
great.
plan you gave me,
Do
but
you really?
it's probably time for a new
Oh my
one.
gosh.
But that's how we kept in touch.
Well,
And
we
then
talked about marketing, you know.
The
and
marketing,
that-
yeah,
Your
that's-
resume is your marketing tool.
exactly. And not everybody thinks that you need to do the marketing with the resume, but you do.
You do. You're selling yourself.
Right.
That's
So-
right.
Right. So now with this mental illness,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
is this something that you struggled with your whole life?
I
Or-
do, yes. It's
Okay.
bipolar, just in the interest
Right.
of, making it clear what we are talking about. And so I had these ups and downs and whatnot as a young person, and it's hereditary. So, my
Right.
dad had it, my grandmother had it much worse. It was called manic depression back then.
Yeah.
And I was
Right.
so frightened by those young experiences and seeing that and thinking, well, is that going to be me? Or how will people look at me? I thought maybe I wouldn't be able to get a job, would be employable and whatnot. So, I struggled to keep those things hidden to my own detriment. I can't tell you how many jobs I quit because I kind of felt like, they're on to me, I
Mhm.
acted a little off or I said something
Sure.
weird, And so, my essay in Valentina's book is called How I Fired Myself and Found Myself.
Yes, that's
I love that.
chapter whatever. I forget what chapter it is, but yes.
Yes.
Ecclesiastes, I don't know, whatever.
And what chapter? What's the
Yeah, I
name
was
of the
just gonna
chapter
say, so
in the Careers and Journeys book?
tell us a little bit about that because
Yeah.
Well,
you
I have
contributed to that.
a dear friend. Her name is Lisa Strauss.
Who I actually know, who changed her job also.
Yeah.
She used to be an
Another-
event planner.
Yeah, another
lovely lady.
multi-talented person, and she's
Yes.
I love this plan A, plan B with
absolutely. And see the twists and turns, right? She's got
Right.
the little road sign on there. Well, I don't have a title to it so much as she asked for a pullout quote. My pullout quote was this: avoid the golden handcuffs. Seek out a job you love, even if that means you have to leave some money on the table. And trust me, I have left money on the table. I could be making a lot more money
amen to
than I
that.
did in nonprofits and human services and working now as I do for the county. But I'm going to tell you something. What's more important to me is that on Sunday nights, I don't have those dreads.
Yes.
It sounds corny. I'm going to be 60 this year.
Oh,
and-
big one
no,
coming
right?
out.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I got all these friends and family members. Oh, when are you retiring? It's like, I have no plans whatsoever to
Right.
retire now. And as corny as it seems, I look forward to going to work.
You like
Yes.
what
A
you're
big
doing.
part of that is the
Right.
guy that I happen to be working for now, my supervisor. I'm giving him a shout out. Bill, you're a great guy. And I would cross the desert for this guy because he's someone who has your back.
Yes.
He's one of the first bosses who I have felt safe.
Well, you
calling
had your
and
share
saying,
of
I have a
some.
mental,
Yeah.
I need a mental health day.
But
and that's
I
a
mean,
biggie.
the fact that, now you're balanced and you can do all these different things.
Well, I had
You
to
know.
first ask for help, then I had to do the work.
Right.
And that's
even challenging to ask for the help sometimes more than anything else.
That was the
Yes.
biggest thing.
Right.
And then I had what they call in the mental health industry a critical incident. And when I found myself in the hospital with my wife and my mother on either side of me, I had to make a promise to myself, not to
Right.
them, but to myself that, okay, I'm going to take this thing seriously or it's going to seriously take me.
Yes.
And
Right.
that wasn't an easy thing to do. In fact, the scariest part, Gary, right, was I finally find a therapist. This is after 26 calls, mind you. And I
Mhm.
often wonder what would have happened if I ran out of gas at the 25th call.
Mhm.
To find somebody who is taking new patients and takes my insurance, right?
Yeah, that's
There's
a tough-
something wrong with that picture
that-
alone. We need to
absolutely.
do some work
Right.
there, but that's a whole show of its own. Anyway, I finally get there, and I've chosen a cognitive behavioral therapist because it's somebody who deals with the nuts and bolts. Like, hey, what can I do better? What am I maybe doing to sabotage myself? And the first thing out of this lady's mouth, and I love her to death too, Hillary, singing your praises too. Okay, Frank, I want you to journal. You want me to what? A guy who's been leading a double life and like hiding. Now you want me to write what my deepest, darkest thoughts are? No, that's okay. Because your first entry could be Hillary wants me to keep a journal and I don't want to. And guess what my first entry was? That was the first thing I wrote. But here we are, begrudgingly a minute or maybe a year after that. Like, hey, something. This has
It's pretty
been
good. And
this
not only
has
that,
been useful.
it grew you
therapeutic.
into book writing and article writing.
Go figure.
Yes.
Who knows? You know what? I think being open to new things. I think one of the things I find when I deal with job seekers or people like myself who find themselves out of work is, especially for men too, and I keep hitting the gender thing, but I think it is a piece here, is that a lot of men, what's the first thing when you meet another guy? Often we say, hey, how are you? I'm Frank. I'm Gary. Oh, what do you do? And
Well,
a
that
lot
seems
of
to be a
our
big-
identity is
Yes.
wrapped around what we do as a job. And that sort of model needs to be blown up. But that being said, so now you're out of work, there's a grieving process actually. There's a
tell me
grieving
about it.
process. And and I'm thinking about a young lady who it was a real success story that my colleague and I really worked with her one-on-one.
It is the grieving
And
process.
it took us about 2 weeks to get her out of grieving over the job that she just lost to say, okay, let's put that in the rearview mirror so we
Right.
deal with the present and where do we want to propel you to,
But
and
yes.
how can we help you? Because we can't, you can lead the horse to water,
But they have to drink it. Right.
And so
Right.
it's a collaborative process. I got to work with the person. I don't do resumes for someone. I do resumes with someone.
Right. But the other thing is it's hard on your marriage. It's hard on your pocketbook. It's
Oh, being at work?
Yes.
I'm very lucky. I have a
they
very
say
supportive wife.
the two most hardest things to go through is job loss and moving. Moving your home.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I've went through the job loss and the changes that I went through.
It is. It's traumatic. You feel a loss of identity in some cases. And then, of course, too, we live in a very, I don't know about Colorado these days, but, housing and other things, the gas is like, I'm choking
now
on the
in
gas
this
price.
environment, forget about it.
So then you really have worries, too, of like, hey, how am I going to survive and eat and have a roof over my head and whatnot? So there's almost an element of counseling.
Yes, which is now I do a lot of coaching.
Yeah,
and so it also turned into other things that I do based on what happened.
Sure.
And putting yourself out there, like you said.
And I think that makes people feel safe. Like when we're in meetings, I'll tell people, I don't always disclose my full story. But sometimes I'll say, don't be fooled by this tie and where I'm sitting here. I said, guess what? I was sitting right in that computer seat where you were sitting right now.
I did it.
And my butt was looking for a job or anything. And I try to get people to do peer support,
Right.
In other words,
Right.
Allie's sitting next to Gary, sitting next to Frank, and say, look, you are not competitors. She's looking for a job in acting. He's an event planner. And this person here wants a job in, I don't know, let's say healthcare. So while you are looking, if you stumble across something that might help the other person,
you're going to tell them.
I often encourage them. And I work in our computer lab. It's right across the way from my office suite. And my colleague and I, Karen, we work very close with people as they're job seeking, as they're what's your strategy?
Absolutely.
The resume, cover letters, things like that. LinkedIn profiles is my biggie now. You know,
Yeah, a lot of people
I'm
have
all-
everything on the LinkedIn now.
Well, yeah, I know, and that's me because I'm really not on a lot of social media platforms.
Yeah.
But LinkedIn is my place of choice because of my profession.
Right. So, what do you think about this, Angela?
Yeah,
Let's talk about the highest paying jobs on Long Island.
Yep.
What
Yes.
software? Obviously, computer is
Yeah, well,
the number one.
I went to ZipRecruiter. That was the source. Let's just give credit where credit's due. And I wanted to look at, well, regionally, what are some of the jobs and stuff. And naturally, hey, tech's the big thing these days. Healthcare, education. We have
Yes.
a bunch of universities
The
and
top is
colleges on our
healthcare
area.
and cyber. Yeah.
Healthcare, cyber stuff, cybersecurity. Our county experienced a cyber attack just 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And we've seen things like that happening even in the pharmaceutical industry and whatnot. A lot of other things is the skilled trades. I am so glad to
Yes.
actually see things
A
like
lot of
welding
kids,
on
yes.
here. When I was going to school and growing up, it was an unspoken thing. You're going to college. There was no discussion about skilled trades, and I really wish there had been.
Well, it's different now.
My wife is more mechanical than me, and I'm happy to say I point to my chandelier in my dining room and I say, my wife put that up there. Props
She's
to
that
her.
great? My God.
She does electrical work. I was the donkey. I was holding her up, and so now she.
Kudos to hers, right?
That's right. Who else comes to the marriage
Right.
level? Right, Gary? Huh?
Right.
That was part of her
That's
dowry.
Right.
Something. But really, the administrative jobs sometimes they want you to do more than just being in, just do clerical. Now,
Absolutely.
administrative jobs
Yeah,
are
absolutely.
you're like the right arm to the president.
And the thing with that is, again, don't say it's not my job. In fact, if someone asks you to do something new, embrace that. If someone says, hey, we want to send you to a seminar
Right.
or a workshop, some
Go.
people are like, oh,
Do it.
Because
geez,
you'll have to
another
pay for it
semester.
on your own
Oh,
when you're out
I
of work.
travel. Who's going to take care of my cat? I had a friend that told me that one time. I said, hey, you're going to go see a city on somebody else's dime. Embrace it. Someone else will watch your cat.
Exactly.
I was like, oh, somebody else is going to help me put another notch in my belt. I'm going to be building my toolkit
Right,
and my
exactly.
knowledge base. Because what does that do? It makes me more marketable.
Yes.
I mean, I listened to your introduction. Hey, she's like a jack of all trades,
Yeah,
and
you're
has
unbelievable.
done many things.
Yes, she is
no,
a
I
master.
wouldn't say that. No, that's not
Yes,
what I was. That's not what I was
definitely.
hearing,
She is
Gary.
the actress of
She's-
the
Thank you.
Long Island.
She's
I
very
mean, nobody
modest.
does
She's
as
very
much
modest,
as you.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now my other thought is, years ago to go be a security guard. That was
Yeah,
like,
I was just
don't
looking
do
at
it. Don't. You got to
Go
go to
figure,
class.
right?
Now
Yes.
there were so much security jobs open,
Yes.
and a former policemen now get the only jobs in hospitals are former policemen for security.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
School
well,
security.
And just think of
Well,
how
veterans.
School
you just had to take that 3-hour course for 2
Mhm.
days and
Yeah.
sign the paper to get in. And
It's
now
true.
it's just like it's a no-brainer. People do it all the time.
You raised a very good point. And I had a young lady on the phone with me just this morning who was saying, hey, I think what I'd like to do, really, I've been giving it some thought since the last time we talked on Monday, is maybe pursue some sort of a education training kind of program. I said, great. I said, let's come in and we'll talk about that, what your options are. And I mean, hey, the federal government will pay for some of that.
They do
too.
now, yes.
I wish
Yeah.
they put more money into that because a lot of times what's standing between, I hear people often say, oh, these people don't want to work. There's all these help wanted
Well,
and all these people out
Yeah.
there who are not working and this and that, or say, I can't get a job. Well, guess what? My feeling about that from my perspective, my perch looking at this is that there's a mismatch though between who's not working and then what the job availability is. And all that's often standing between them is maybe a piece of paper or
It's
a little
true.
training, a small thing.
Right.
It's true.
So-
The only other thing is,
Mhm.
the interview process, which is a lot of my book.
Yes.
There's a lot of stories of
Yes.
people that have gone on interviews
Mhm.
and been, excused because of their age
Mhm.
or their experience, which was too much.
Age, gender, there are
And
so
yes.
many different
Yeah.
factors.
And that's, I think, going to change now.
it's
It's definitely not going to be the same. Maybe for the seniors it is, but not for the genders.
I'll tell you
and,
what, I was surprised when I looked at this list is to not see diversity, equity, and inclusion
In anything.
person on there because every time I turn around, there's another job vacancy for someone in that. All the companies are
Exactly.
scrambling now to
Yes.
diversify. I was at one time a Job Corps recruiter, and a lot of times when I was working with young ladies, I was like, look, I said, you get a skill like this, and I said, these construction industries are under pressure.
Well, there are a
One
lot of
young lady I
women.
sent to a welder program.
There are a lot of women in the union
Yep.
making good money, standing there holding the sign.
Well, I'll tell you what's really funny, what you just said. is that when I pass construction sites, if my window's open and
Yeah.
and it's safe to do so, if I see the young lady
Yes.
or whatever waving the flag, instead of I yell to her and say, "Tell the boys to let you play with the toys,"
Right.
because they got the skills and stuff. But a lot of times, even though these industries, just like police and others, are the gender equity is moving in, a lot of times they're kind of held back to certain roles.
Well, yes,
So,
even the bus
So
driver.
you got to kind of push.
My friend has a great pension. I wouldn't go on the interview with her. She drives a bus.
Yeah.
And I kept
There's
saying,
nothing
I
wrong
want
with it.
corporate America. No.
Nothing wrong with it.
She makes a lot of money on her pension.
Well, that's it. If you're doing something that you love,
Yes.
and it's honest money and all, there is a certain, there's a grace to that,
Yes.
We live on this earth, and my hope is that when I pass on, and I don't want to expand my role beyond what it is, if I make a little difference, I move the needle, make things just a little bit better. And something as small as a smile can save a person's life.
Exactly.
I just saw an essay by a gentleman who was a survivor,
Right.
and he talked about how this one person smiled at him.
Yeah, well,
That's
a
all it's
smile
about.
makes your whole day.
Sure.
But one of the
Absolutely.
best chapters I like in here, because it's what I do, is the real benefits of networking.
Well, there you go. Right
And,
there.
you cannot believe how many people I have met that have been on this show just because I stood in front of someone at a party and said, take my card. And as much as people don't think that a card is important,
it's a business
it's
tool.
important.
It's a
My
business
card is
tool.
not your regular card. It's a bookmark.
Uh-huh.
But you don't have to be an author just to have a bookmark. You can do
Nope.
any, and you can double side it.
I mean, it's an innovative way too
It's
to
different.
market oneself
Yes,
too.
it's different. So networking is very important to everyone, no matter what you're looking for. Even if you're looking for a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. But that's one of my favorites in this book, and of course your story, which I love.
Well, pertinent to what you're saying is that, hey, I'm going to tell you the dirty secret in hiring is that HR is not your friend. Sorry,
Oh, we know that.
Sorry,
I
anybody
know
in the
that.
HR field. I'm not being a hater, but they're the gatekeepers.
Yes.
They are not the person
And
who
the
are welcoming you
confidentiality
in.
doesn't exist.
Okay?
I'm sorry.
So what you often sometimes have to do is find somebody who's in a decision-making power through networking
Right.
at the company. If you desire to work for a certain company, you've got to sneak in the side door or whatever.
Well,
Because,
yes. Well, we're wrapping up soon. So where do people buy
I
your
was
book?
just going to ask you.
Well, the book is not mine, but it is also available on Amazon, just like any other place, in Barnes & Noble, your regular local bookstores as well. It's called Career Journeys from the Ground Up, and I'm giving a big shout out to my friend Lisa Strauss Lorenz.
And me too, Lisa. I haven't seen you in a
Hope
while.
you're having a great time
job.
over there in California, Lisa. She's
I
visiting
tried to
family.
reach her to come.
She's
I'll have her
visiting
another
family,
time because
and
I
that's
thought she'd be
important
great
too,
to have
right?
her on with the
Yeah.
show. And then we also have our sponsor today.
Oh.
Would you like to mention him?
Oro Puro too, right? Jewelers.
Yes.
Yes. And Hempstead Turnpike
There he
in
is.
Franklin Square.
Teddy
Thank you,
and
thank
Christina.
you.
I was just there picking up. I had dropped the necklace off. There he is.
Hey.
And I forgot about it. It's costume. But he goes, "Oh, I found this." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." So I got my necklace.
That's
today.
great.
But
Love it.
in life, every day is a gift. A new
Yes.
chapter awaits. Go and check out all these books. Talk to someone that can mentor you. And remember, life is short. Buy the boots and buy any other kind of things that's a little wacky, because wacky sells and wacky gets you in the door. Of course, you want to be professional,
Excellent.
but have a wacky idea. You want to come up with a new product, make it wacky, because wacky really sells. And I want to thank all of you for being on the show. It was a great show. Maybe we could do it again
Love it.
and do a round table with a few more people.
Sure.
And you look great. I
Thank
love
you.
your toy. You
Thank you.
got this special toy for today.
I did. I bought this tie. Actually, she was an excuse for me to buy yet another necktie for my. I have more neckties than most women have shoes. So I'll let you figure that out.
So that is it. That is today's show. It's a wrap, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, honey. It was a really good show.